Hey there, PJ here. So I saw this come up on my Echo Show screen. It's from Kiro 7 News. I see the title, Staying Healthy This Fall. So if someone were to ask me how to stay healthy this fall, my advice would be the right nutrition. Exercise actually is the number one thing you can do for your immune system to stay healthy. And then get healthy. You can't stay healthy if you're not already healthy, but getting healthy, I would give them great advice on that. Starting with exercise, then great nutrition, getting your sleep, vitamins, especially vitamin D, C. There are some great supplements you can take, like quercetin and zinc. And this report was on 9/14, but you probably don't have to wonder what this mainstream news outlet is going to say about staying healthy. Their advice.
This week, you may be able to get an updated COVID-19 vaccine.
Oh, so here's a selfie of me when I heard their very first thing. Hopefully they're going to give other advice other than just getting medications. But let's see here.
A CDC advisory panel voted to recommend broad use of it. This is for everyone ages 6 months and older.
Okay, so you can see down here, this is not tested on a single person. This new, more effective booster, where have you heard that before? The CDC and the FDA have officially scrapped all human testing altogether on everything that's coming out now. It's just not even, they're not even attempting to make it look like they're trying anymore.
Should that include you and your family? And if so, when should you get the shot? Our Kiro 7 Live studio guest has some guidance.
Notice she stopped herself. She said, and should you get the shot? But she stopped herself. and when should you get the shot? She changed it to when instead of the option of choice.
Timely guidance, folks. Larry Corey, MD, vaccine researcher and a virologist at Fred Hutch Cancer Center. First of all, people are saying doctor.
So he uses a buzzword here, doctor, because that makes him more credible because he must be the expert since he's a doctor and we're supposed to always listen to our doctors. And notice her smile of approval triggered by the buzzword.
Well, the pandemic's in the rearview mirror. I don't need to get another booster.
And now her nod of approval to reinforce the narrative. All this is on a subconscious level. She might not even know she's doing it, but they're paid to reinforce the MSM narrative.
Message is what to who?
Well, my message is
and weird that she just did this laughter. It wasn't funny, so maybe it's nervous, but inappropriate timing for laughter because there was nothing funny that he said. I think it's funny, but I know that she's mainstream, so she doesn't. So why the laughter?
the virus is really quite happy. It's infecting a heck of a lot of people. It's transmitting, and we're seeing an uptick.
Okay, so remember when we were promised all the stuff that we were being told by the government to do would stop it? They had the answer. They were going to cure it. They kept coming up with new answers after what they told us to do didn't work. Well, it's still around. He's saying it's happy. And so what that means is the government has failed miserably. And we have the highest rate of COVID fatalities of any country in the world. Yet we're supposed to have the best health care system.
Both hospitalizations and ER visits associated with COVID-19. It wasn't like January, but it is starting to go up, and we're concerned about it. When you look at hospitalization rates, those greater than 75, and
so just a little side note on hospitalization rates. What he was meant to say was 75%, but it doesn't mean 75% of the hospital is full. It just means that 75% of the COVID beds they've dedicated to it are full, which probably also isn't true because of my own personal visit to hospitals the first time this whole thing was a crisis. I'll link the video up above here to that one. Oh wait, YouTube took that down. I'll have to figure out another way to do it. Maybe I can put it back up and it'll be here. It'll be up for a little while.
are having increased rates of hospitalization. And
remember when We were first told that the vaccine would prevent transmission and prevent infection. And then we were told that it would prevent hospitalization. And then we were told it would prevent death, when all of those things turned out to be false. Yeah, well, where have we heard all this before again?
This is a pathogen still to be respected.
There seems to be two paths here: convincing people first, but then secondly, for those of us who are convinced.
Okay, notice how she says that. She's annoyed that there's still people to convince, and then she's happy for those of us who are convinced.
How should we try to time this out? You hear people talking about, I want to get this so that it covers me through the holidays when I'm going to be gathering with family.
So now they're putting thoughts in people's minds, giving them reasons to want the booster because of fear.
What's your guidance on that?
Well, my guidance is there is for older adults, RSV, COVID-19, and influenza.
Okay, so he lists out the fear by listing the threats.
All three of them are important. I probably would separate them by a couple weeks, and I would get them when I can get them.
What order would you get them in then?
Well, I think COVID, RSV, flu.
Okay.
Other people would differ with me on that, but because seasonally, flu doesn't come to us mostly in December, January, and February. Now, RSV actually is a little bit later also, so you could, but COVID's now, so I think.
Notice all these pictures they are showing in the background that you don't really know you're watching, that's affecting your fear levels and the narrative and what you're thinking, what you're believing.
It's time to get.
COVID is now.
And COVID, we know viruses are a moving target. They're constantly evolving and they're trying to outsmart us.
And this is why they have never been able to create a vaccine for coronavirus. And why I told everybody right in the beginning they wouldn't be able to do it this time either.
One that's coming, this new vaccine, is effective against the next variants, yeah?
Okay, so that's impossible because you wouldn't know what the next variant is. So he just said something completely false and indicating how stupid and ignorant he is. Now the doctor's going to try to cover for him.
Well, yes, at the one that you're reading about, the BA 2.86.
So he just basically said yes, but he didn't say the right thing. So he's trying to help the guy save face and not look like such an idiot, but he's rephrasing it to say, actually, it's the one that's already out and we've already heard about it.
That one, this vaccine, it works really quite well against.
And where have we heard that before? This one is based on mice testing data not publicly available, so we can't even see what they did with the mice. But again, not on humans at all, not a single human.
In fact, surprisingly, it's only twofold more resistant than the parent strain in the vaccine. So,
and nobody really even knows what that means.
90% of the viruses that are circulating are these XBB types. It is in the vaccine. The monovalent is the one to get. It will protect you.
It will protect you.
Yes, it may, whether it'll get a whole year or not, that.
He's promising it will protect you. Where have we heard that before? And now he's backing off it, saying that it might not be a whole year, but subliminally he's saying, this is going to be a yearly thing for you. It might even be 6 months. And he's also saying that the effectiveness is waning. So he's admitting lots of things without saying it out loud, but I'll do it for him.
A little bit up to the virus. The virus has its own way of mutating.
Because viruses are so smart, and they're obviously much smarter than our health officials, our health experts.
For the here and now, now's the time to get vaccinated.
Making excuses for when it doesn't work. When it doesn't work, not if it doesn't work. He's already building in excuses for that. Because when people promised everything before, And they were so miserably wrong. He doesn't want to be one of those people, even though he's doing it anyways. But sticking in disclaimers that he think might help.
Going to get vaccinated when that vaccine comes.
So he just said, I'm going to get vaccinated when the vaccine comes. Again, he's supposed to be the expert, and so we're supposed to follow the expert's advice and do what the expert does.
The CDC stats, 70% of Americans got the first course, only 17% got the booster.
Yeah, because the first course didn't work. And they're like, wait a minute, I think I might have been duped. Because people, when they got that first 2 shots, were promised that it would prevent infection and prevent transmission. That's what they were all told, and that's why they went and they got it. And then when they realized they were lied to, of course they didn't want to get another one.
Older folks tended to have a much higher percentage, of course. That's your number one priority, but then babies also.
Yeah. People who have never gotten the booster really should get this vaccine because the vaccine really has waned.
There we go again, talking about the waning, which those original people who got the original doses were not told. That idea wasn't even introduced when they went and got jabbed.
Vaccine is best against preventing hospitalization, ICUs, death.
Okay, where have we heard this before? Why didn't that happen? And to be clear, he isn't describing a vaccine here. He's describing a treatment. They're very different.
Wants that. Please get vaccinated. Now, the second set that seems to sometimes get left out of people's minds, we have all these new births in the region, and kids should get vaccinated.
Even though kids who get COVID, it's basically like the sniffles. Yeah, kids are the lowest risk of any. And even if it was an unhealthy kid and there was a risk, maybe they're immune compromised or whatever issue they have, then protect the kid. This shot is not the way to do that. There's many other ways to protect the kid.
I think one of the things that tells us that the virus is still formidable is this increase in hospitalization rates that we're seeing in infants, because they don't have.
Actually, there's no data to prove that. He's just making it up, trying to create fear in people. Because if you go down to your local hospital right now and see for your own self with your own eyes, there's not going to be an uptick in hospitalizations of infants from any of the 3 things that he's talked about so far.
Received vaccine yet. Maybe some of them actually haven't come from mothers who got vaccinated also. So we don't a transplacental transfer of the antibodies that occurs in young babies. So
there's no data to support the placental transfer of effective antibodies either. And I say effective because the vaccine antibodies are certainly not effective. That's why people are getting COVID over and over that got the jab. But those of us who didn't are getting COVID once. And again, no data to support what he just said. This is also just made up. He could be being told these things by other ignorant people that have been lied to or who are making up the lies, and he's just repeating the lies without researching anything for himself, or he's lying flat out himself. Who knows? Either way, he's completely ruined his own credibility.
Children should get boosted, should get primary.
Wow. Of course, the boosters are necessary because the original didn't work, and the last shot, even if it wasn't booster, is going to stop working pretty soon. So you got to keep getting these boosters if you believe in this any protection that might be afforded. But again, it's just a mild case of sniffles in healthy children, almost indistinguishable from allergies.
Vaccinated should get boosted, and adults should get boosted.
Real quick, I keep hearing this all the time. Doctor, I have natural immunity. My wife had it in May. I don't need a booster. What's your message?
So here we go. Now they're trying to discount natural immunity, which I just touched on, which I have, and I am actually protected from COVID and 100% protected against any vaccine side effects.
Messages. I've had COVID. I've had actually more than once.
So he just he said the quiet part out loud that, he's been vaccinated and boosted, but he's had COVID more than once. I've been vaccinated 0, except for my childhood vaccinations, but certainly not for COVID. And I had it once for a few days. It felt kind of like a cold, and it was weird to lose my smell for 4 hours. But goodness gracious. So this expert here just proved his recommendation doesn't work, and what he's doing isn't working.
And I'm going to get this new vaccine because I think it's a hell of a lot better to be vaccinated than to be uncomfortable with COVID.
Well, you were multiple times and vaccinated. So, goodness gracious. Notice he also avoided addressing the topic presented. He's deflecting from the fact of robust natural immunity, and he's not even talking about natural immunity because he knows he can't, under truth, talk about it because it's so much better. It's actually real immunity.
And there is still a risk, and people still get sick from COVID. And it's
yeah, and they get sick from the shots. But the strains that are circulating right now are very mild compared to the original strain that I had that made me feel crummy for 3 days. It was kind of like a medium cold. I've had worse colds before because that was the alpha strain, the nastiest one. It is true what he said, that the vaccinated are still getting COVID over and over like he is.
unpredictable. You cannot predict whether you get mild or severe or more severe disease and how sick you will be. So who wants to
Well, yeah, and you can't predict how you're going to react to the jab either.
be sick?
Right. You're protecting yourself and your family.
Yeah.
So,
There's a protecting buzzword again. And your family. Yourself and your family. Good Lord. So anytime that you see on your Echo Show screen something like this, beware. It's not about staying healthy or getting healthy. Health recommendations. It's only about fear and trying to push you toward a medical intervention. And that's all I have to say about that.
And that's all I have to say about that.